Many people think that rich people spend money on huge mansions, exotic cars, or luxury labels. But the wealthiest people I know, they actually avoid luxury. Instead, they spend money on things you cannot see. And that's exactly why they stay rich. Today, I'm breaking down what rich people really spend money on. And I'll be honest, some of these might surprise you. If it's your first time here, hi, I'm Yidan. For the past 10 plus years, I've led HR functions supporting founders, CEOs, and top company executives in their companies. I work with them day to day and saw how they make decisions, how they think about money, what they say yes to, and what they always say no to. Here's the interesting part. The things that actually made them wealthy are the same things most people completely overlook. In this video, I'll share 6 things wealthy people actually spend their money on, and more importantly, the practical lessons anyone can apply, no matter your income or wealth level. Alright, let's get started. The first thing rich people buy is time. They don't just work harder, they delegate things that take time, but don't require their unique skills. Things like scheduling, travel planning, cleaning, laundry, or grocery shopping. Not because they can't do these things, but because their time is worth far more than the cost of paying someone else to do them. Every hour they buy back is an hour they can rest, think, recharge, build, or just earn more. For example, almost all the executives I've worked with have assistants. Some are in person, some are virtual, some are full-time, some are part-time. Like this one company founder I know had 2 assistants. Her in-person assistant handled all the personal day-to-day stuff. Like every morning, she would go pick up fresh organic produce from the grocery store and turn it into a smoothie for the founder. Then she would take her dogs for a walk and handle other household errands. Meanwhile, her virtual assistant took care of the work side, like scheduling meetings, managing her inbox, planning travel and trips, and other routine work tasks that would otherwise eat up hours. Because these 2 assistants took care of all these details, the founder could focus on the big picture stuff, like growing the business and working on projects that directly increased revenue. In other words, every hour she bought back with her assistants didn't just save time, it created more impact and income than she could have produced on her own. Now, hiring help isn't cheap. Depending on location and experience, virtual assistants can cost roughly from $15 to $50 an hour. Some very experienced assistants charge even more. But the real benefit isn't just time saved, it's mental space. While I'm not saying that every one of us should just go out and hire full-time assistants right away. To start, there are many practical things you can do to buy your time back, even on a regular budget. You don't have to outsource everything all at once. Start with the tasks that eat up most of your weekly time. It can be cleaning the house, it can be cooking or meal prepping or grocery delivery, depending on your situation. Because every hour you free up is an hour you can use to spend time with your family, rest and recharge, or work on your goals. Another thing I've seen working with rich people is that they spend money on advisors or experts. Those are specialists who can protect their money, grow it wisely, and keep them out of costly mistakes. While I'm talking about tax strategists, estate planning attorneys, and business and legal counsel. Rich people use them because they understand that sometimes avoiding a mistake is often more valuable than making money, because one bad tax move, contract, or partnership can land them in serious trouble and wipe out years of hard work. And this isn't just something I've noticed, the data supports it as well. Studies suggest that more than 70% of wealthy Americans use professional tax strategists and advisors, nearly double the amount of the general population. You might be thinking, well, I'm not rich, I can't afford all that. But you know what? You don't need to hire every single advisor out there. You can just use them in the ways that actually make sense for your life and your budget. For example, I usually use AI tools like ChatGPT or Perplexity as a first step. They help me learn and get prepared, which can save a lot of money. But if a decision involves big dollars or serious legal or tax risks, that's when I bring in a real professional. That way, I'm not paying a professional to educate me from zero. I'm paying them to customize, confirm, and protect me. Before we move on, if you found this helpful so far, go ahead and like the video and subscribe. I share practical money tips every week, and I would love for you to join me on this journey. Okay, here's another big one. I've observed that wealthy people are much more willing to spend money on their health. They spend money on preventative care, trainers, physical therapy, mental health support, and in many other ways. Why? Because they understand that they can't out-earn poor health. When their energy drops, their income usually follows. Now, the takeaway for you and me isn't just to spend more money on health, it's to invest smartly in health earlier. For example, instead of waiting until something hurts, you get an annual physical check and basic blood work, so smaller issues don't turn into big problems later. Or instead of chasing expensive wellness trends, you invest in sleep, like a fixed bedtime, cutting your phone before bed, maybe a blackout curtain or an eye mask. These are all low-cost changes that can bring big returns. Here's the next secret. The richest people also invest in themselves, their own skills, and their ability that can multiply their income over and over. I once knew a CEO, he's a billionaire, and he actually hired a Chinese tutor to come to his office every week to teach him Mandarin. His time was incredibly valuable, as you can guess, and learning a new language takes years. Realistically, that 1 hour could have been spent running his business and probably making 100 times more than what most people can earn in the same amount of time. That's why it surprised me. Most adults can't or won't carve out time to learn a new skill, but when I asked him why he did it, he said it was because his company was expanding into China and he wanted to communicate directly with clients there and his team there. He wanted to build trust with them and to lead without a language barrier. To him, learning Mandarin wasn't a cost, it was an investment that will help him land better clients, lead bigger teams, and create far more opportunity in the long run. And that's something most people don't do consistently. They don't invest in themselves with the future in mind. While language is just an example, rich people also spend time on many other skills like leadership, communication, personal branding, or more. While for us, we can start with one skill that aligns with our goals. Maybe it's public speaking, maybe it's personal branding, maybe it's negotiation. They're investments in our future earning power. A way to think of this is skills can multiply what we can charge and what we can create tomorrow, not today. That's why the wealthy spend intentional dollars on skill development, not to look good, but to earn better and to grow without limits. On to the next secret of how wealthy people spend money. They pay for environments that shape behavior. They don't rely on motivation because motivation comes and goes. Instead, they design environments that make success easier. I was once invited by a company executive and his wife to their home for a holiday. They own a company worth hundreds of millions of dollars. So I expected something extravagant. Maybe it's a huge house in a very well-off neighborhood. But to my surprise, they live in a 3-bedroom townhome, no yard, and in a very, very typical middle-class neighborhood you might just pass by without noticing. It's not big in square footage at all, but it's only a few minutes drive from his company. That's intentional because he optimized his environment for output, not status. He chose to be close to work, minimize distractions, and keep his life simple to gain more time, more energy, and more focus for what truly matters for him, which is to grow his company and to create wealth. For you and me, we can also choose to design our environment to support our goals. Even small changes like clearing the desk, setting up a home workstation in a quiet corner, wearing noise-canceling headphones, or just adding a comfortable chair can all make a big difference in focus and productivity. Finally, another way rich people spend is to pay to be in the right rooms. They invest in networks and access and put themselves where opportunities happen. They invest in masterminds, peer groups, industry conferences, or private communities to choose who they decide to be around with and what opportunities land in their lap. I once assisted a founder who had already built a top company in his industry. His business was doing extremely well, and yet he chose to enroll in an executive education program at Harvard Business School. Why would someone at his level decide to go back to school? He did this because he wanted fresh perspectives, he wanted new connections, and to gain access to experts, to other founders, and visiting speakers. Now again, how can we apply this to our lives? We don't need to dive into the priciest programs to see results. Even local meetups, online groups, or industry events can help us level up our network in ways that fit our goals and our budget. Now you've seen the 6 ways rich people spend their money. Here's the key. Every purchase they make comes down to one question. Will this buy me time, protect me, or grow my future income? If yes, they go for it. And that's a mindset anyone can start using today, no matter how much money you make. If you found this video helpful, don't stop here. Watch this one next. I'll see you there.